Stephen King is widely synonymous with the horror genre. He's intrigued fans worldwide with his horror stories for more than half a century. A literature addict may know him for molding familiar pieces like hotel rooms, libraries, and even an occupied house, let alone a deserted one, into a dreaded corner. And he certainly lives up to his mastery of crafting a well-spun plot for the science fiction short story, The House on Maple Street. Welcome to another episode of Marvelous Videos, where we're glad to take you through the short story. If you've already read the story, you'll enjoy revisiting a classic, and if this is your first time hearing about it, get ready to be hooked on King's work like never before. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. History of a House on Maple Street, a look into its establishment. Published in 1993, the sci-fi horror short story The House on Maple Street is one to remember from the collection named Nightmares and Dreamscapes. If Shining is the most famous short story based on a house, then The House on Maple Street is no less. Sure, the children in the story, The House on Maple Street, don't possess any psychic capabilities, with which they discover the secret lying inside their very home. From the beginning of the discovery, a strange alloy-like feature growing in the walls of the house sets the story's tone. The reader is left to wonder what Melissa, the youngest of the Bradbury children, has discovered. The story follows the Bradbury children who live in a house on Maple Street. Back from a vacation in England, the children found something off with the house. The story really kicks off when Melissa stumbles upon something weird growing upward through the house's walls from below, replacing the wood and plaster with metal and machinery. Freaked out, she immediately runs to her older brother Brian, who's 2 years older than her, to show him what she found. They both swear on their mom not to tell anyone, but of course, as you'd expect, the secret doesn't stay secret for long. One by one, all the Bradbury kids find out about this bizarre thing happening inside their home. Lori ends up showing it to Trent, the oldest of the bunch, and sure enough, it's this strange metal thing slowly replacing the wooden parts of the house. There's no backstory about when the house was built or anything, but what's clear is that something big is about to go down. Once everyone's in the loop, Trent, being the eldest, calls a secret meeting with the others. And naturally, because the kids are curious like that, they decide to investigate what's really going on. While on a solo search, Trent ends up in his deceased father's cellar. He found a knob of stainless steel which was peeking out of the ceiling of the second floor closet. It was a curved metal electric machine that had burst out of the luggage closet. Initially, the color of the machine was polished gray. That is, until Trent touched it. At his touch, it gave out a dusky rose color. Along with the change in color, Trent also heard a faint but strong humming noise deep within the walls. With further drilling, the children found more of the alloy growing, not just at the spot where it was discovered, but in other rooms of the house too. A day prior to Trent discovering the machine, while in the attic, Trent had observed a bundle of thin, interlaced cables that were literally growing in one corner. When he followed the bundle, he came across a surprising phenomenon. What he saw made him freeze in his spot. He saw a tangle of hair while the cables spun themselves simply out of nothing. The cables met, wrapped around each other, and stuck so tightly it appeared that they merged. It didn't just stop there. These cables continued spreading until they reached the floor. Here, they pierced through the ground and created a limber bracework, and it looked as if it would be very strong, able to hold the house together through a lot of buffeting and hard knocks. This is somehow the turning point in the narrative of the story. The very first impression of discovering the alloy is that of mystery. A reader is compelled to think that something ominous is lurking in the air for the kids. But mind you, Stephen King knows how to turn things around. When the children find the alloy engulfing the house, and Lori states that it is growing in the house, it's stealing the house, whatever you call it, it acts like it's alive. As readers, it's normal to imagine the house becoming engulfed in the deadly metal as it continues to build. However, Stephen King has other surprises for his readers. He dismisses this idea by providing more details. The way King talks about the metal structure is no small detail. All of a sudden, the metal structure changes from being a scary element to a beneficial aspect of the house. Though at first the children were curious about the growing metal in the house, it changed with further discovery. After a close look at the construction of the metal overtaking, the insulation framework portrays it with a specific function, the function of protection and not harm. It can be said just as insulation does the job of providing warmth, in the same way the metal construction represents the life of the house and bestows it with the capability of benevolence. A protector in disguise. Role of the house in House on Maple Street. In this story, the house on Maple Street isn't just some background setting, it's basically the main character. It's the force that drives everything forward. The house actually helps the kids trap their awful, tyrannical stepdad, and finally free themselves and their mom from him. Put simply, the house changes in a way that gives the kids a shot at standing up for their mother, Catherine, and putting an end to Lou Evans' cruelty. Trent, the oldest of the Bradbury kids, quickly moves past the initial fear of the weird metal stuff and steps up to protect his family. Even though he's somewhat afraid of what this means, he knows this is their chance. Symbolism and familial ties. The story has a close resemblance to some of the earlier classics, just like Mayella Ewell in To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee, who was ill-treated by her alcoholic father, Bob Ewell, who had to look after her younger siblings. The Bradbury children sought tenderness and looked out for each other's support. This was primarily due to their sick mother, who was constantly battling fatigue and severe migraines. That's not all. There's more. While Mayella lived in constant fear of her father, she also testified against Tom Robinson to escape beatings and abuse, the same way the Bradbury children lived in continual fear and discomfort of Lewis and didn't trespass on his area of work. House on Maple Street, in addition to the classic To Kill a Mockingbird, also has a deep resemblance to the children's story Cinderella. Just like Bob Ewell in the aforementioned classic, the story of Cinderella has close ties with the story in discussion. We all know how Cinderella was scared of her stepmother. In the same way, once again, the Bradbury children would be scared out of their wits by Lewis Evans. Further mention can also be made of how Cinderella's stepmother forbade her from visiting the ball or coming out to try the glass slipper on when the men from Prince Charles' palace visited. In a similar fashion, Lewis also didn't allow the Bradbury kids to come anywhere near his room, where he conducted his research. If not many more novels, this story can be tied to The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain. Growing up as a truant and accompanying Tom Sawyer on his adventures, Huck showed signs of growing nervousness once he discovered that his father was alive. In a similar fashion, the children always stayed away from the sight of their stepfather, Lewis, and they tried to avoid him in any way possible. Furthermore, the two older Bradbury children, Brian and Laurie, plot against Lewis and decide to teach him a hard lesson. This deepens the family ties of the Bradburys, especially the children. Transformation and emotional reflection. The physical transformation of the house in the story parallels the inner journey of the characters, as the house began to replace the old wooden construction with metal structure. The earlier home is revealed to signify the stability of their family, cracked and distorted. The whole structure of the house quivers. The children react with mixed feelings. There are specific scenes in the novel that depict this. For instance, toward the climax, the children rushed out of the home to see the building being lifted off, and the narrative even points out that the shaking of the house grasped the children's own feeling of excitement. In simple terms, the upheaval of the house matches the rising of the enthusiasm and solace of the children. By the end of the story, when the house raises itself from its foundation and blasts away into the clouds, the children, although surprised, experience a feeling of utmost joy. The home, which once seemed to be oppressive, literally became lively and brought them out of further danger and oppression. The ultimate metamorphosis of the house from being a lifeless entity to a force of wonder shows the emotional ties of the house with the children. Marvelous verdict. So that brings us to the end of our story. The very thought of a house becoming a spaceship is exciting as well as scary. With the digital age progressing just at the same speed as the speed of light, I wouldn't be surprised to see this actually taking place. 32 years after the publication of the collection Nightmares and Dreamscapes, where this story is also printed, we can only hope that we don't see such a sci-fi element in real life scaring us out of our wits. With that, we'd like to call it a day with this marvelous video. We'll see you soon with another bone-chilling story from the master storyteller. Till then, see you next time. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.